How good are you at being patient? I'll admit it's not my greatest strength. I work at it, and I think I'm more patient now than I was 30 years ago, but that may not be saying a whole lot. But patience is one of the fruit of the Spirit. It is a virtue, a habit that we are called as Christians to cultivate. And it's something that in the letter of James, in James chapter 5, in verses 7 through 11, we hear about the importance of the endurance of faith, the ability to patiently endure and to wait. Now, in this case, James is talking about patiently enduring and waiting for the return or the coming of the Lord. And he uses the example of how a farmer has to wait for the harvest to come. There's a process. It takes time. You can't rush it. Someone who owns an apple orchard, they can't go out and yell at the apples in May and tell them they need to be ripe by next week. It won't make a bit of difference. And even an apple on a tree can't hang there and go, I want to ripen now, and try to make itself instantly ripe. There's a process. You have to be patient. It takes time. And so James encourages us. You also must be patient because the coming of the Lord is near. And interestingly then says, do not grumble against one another so that you may not be judged. You know, it's interesting the things that we talk about people being judged for. Oftentimes we think about things that are more physical, shall we say. But imagine how many of us are worried or concerned about, oh my gosh, I have to be careful because God's going to judge me if I grumble against another person. Well, don't be a grumbler. The world doesn't need more grumblers. But the verse of the day is the end of this little passage, James 5:11, where James says, indeed we call blessed those who showed endurance. You have heard of the endurance of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord, how the Lord is compassionate and merciful. So part of what James is hoping that you and I will understand when we have to wait, whether that's waiting for the return, the second coming of Christ, maybe whether that's even waiting for other things that we're hoping for, praying for, or longing for, is remember the purpose of the Lord, that God is compassionate and merciful. Sometimes we might not right in the moment see how that is so, but that is God's nature. So when you find yourself in an intervening time of having to be patient, having to endure, having to pray and to wait, when you find yourself getting frustrated, remind yourself, God is compassionate and merciful to me. Because sometimes what we're hoping for or praying for or wanting, in some cases, not in all cases, may not even be what's best for us. And we need to trust that God knows best.